Hi, this is Tandy Gutierrez, and this is a Pimp Your Mat special, kind of a bonus video. You all have been seeing me talk about the KnotOut rollers recently, and I love them. I've been working with them now for 2 years, and I initially thought, oh please, I don't want more rolly things in my office, and I certainly don't need a new one. Don't do it. One of my very, very best friends for the longest amount of time in the industry brought them to me, and I thought, I don't want one more. But she said, just let me leave them in your office. And so they sat there and I avoided them, and now 2 years later I love them and I travel with them. Okay, so today for Pilates I'm going to show you 3 of the sizes where they're going to change your Pilates practice most, or the Pilates practice of your clients. So the first one is the large KnotOut, this guy, and I'm going to show you the changes that it can really have for your hundreds. So in hundreds, what I see clients, or even in my own body when it gets tight, the places that kind of trip you up are low back or psoas, all related, okay? But if you do a little rolling prior to the work, you're going to release those areas, be able to get deeper into the core, and the key part here is to take the tension and the pressure out of the neck. So what do you hear, or what do you feel when your hundreds don't feel good? That a little disconnected and weak in the core, and really icky and crabby and horrible in the neck. So if you take the large KnotOut and just roll low back, it's got this lovely channel for your spine, and you just do a good little ironing, okay? And you can get those spinal erectors all the way from the bottom up to the top, okay? And it just takes, you know, a couple passes. Up to 10 is kind of the sweet number. And after you do that, you're going to turn over, and the shape of it is super awesome because it will sit right into your psoas, so into the hip flexor. You can do a really lovely passive version and just hang out on it. You could hang out on it and let gravity do its job up to 2 minutes, but if it's just really a warm-up or kind of a pre-thing, you know, just counting to, you know, about 30 seconds is fine also. If you want to do a little rolling, tread carefully in the psoas. We know it's a fight or flight muscle. It can be really tender, but just that couple times, 10 times up and down, you know, give it its little bit of attention too. It can be a harder one to get to. If you do one side, we want to be balanced, and you got to do the other. So sit on it for a little bit, just let it lay. I love it that they're rounded because you let the tissue kind of drape over it. The fascia then gets that little bit of supple, you know, feedback that it can go, ugh. You know, so that sensation when you put a pillow underneath something, you prop it in Pilates, that all of a sudden it relaxes and releases. A little bit of the same sensation here, so not that hard, dense foam roller smashing sensation. And then whatever you did on the other side, keep true to it on the other one for balance. Couple of rolls, 10 again is kind of that sweet number for it. Okay? And then you just set it aside when you head into your hundreds. So knees into the chest, curling up over the ribs. You can take the legs straight up towards the ceiling, arms down by your side, and then whatever your level of fitness is, you know, maybe into that 45-degree angle here. Inhaling to scoop that belly button up underneath the ribs. Exhaling to hold it nice and tight. Slide the shoulders away from your ears, but the lovely part of this is that those places that tend to grip and take over before you can even get to your core and make it kind of a grumpy, unhappy experience, you get to release those first, and then go into the work with a newer perspective in the muscles. And then rest, hug those knees in towards your chest. So that's how this one can help with your hundreds. Next one is the max 10, which is a little bit longer. So another hallmark exercise in the Pilates is the sideline series. But I really hate to see this in every fitness facility on the planet, because really what it turns into is this. So the max 10 one, put it underneath the armpit. So you find your armpit, and if as an instructor or trainer, you all know where your lats are in that insertion point, that's where you want it. But for everybody else, just put it under your armpit and you'll find that spot. Even if you just lay over it, again with that passive sensation, lovely into the tissue, lets it drape, lets gravity do its job. Then if you want to do a little rolling with it, you can. Now I kind of, you know, it's just however you can get it to move, and it's really small, like really little movement to get into the goods, okay? And then once you've made a couple passes at it, then you can start to open up through the collarbone and the chest and roll a little bit onto the back of it to help open things up. So again, why would we do this before a sideline series? Well, if your body tends to get really grumpy into that shoulder and neck, so that if you're trying to prop up here, but it's just really painful, you can't even focus on the legs, then you've got more access to press up and out of it. So you make a fist, you press out of the floor, you want your elbow in alignment with the fist, squeeze down in the armpit, but then all of a sudden, because the tissue's more supple, you're like, yeah, I can get into there more. So your feet are going to be at the front corner of the mat, top leg's going to come up, and that kick forward and that flex and reach back just becomes much more stable, much more integrated, and much more useful for your practice, okay? So here we go. Let's do 4, and back, 3, and back, 2, and back, and 1, and back, and then to the other side. So again, what I love about the KnotOuts is that tissue responds a little bit better. I feel like once you have a practice with them, it opens up much faster than on a foam roller or trigger point roller. This one you're just going to put underneath the armpit, and you're going to find your sweet spot, which is always a little, not so sweet, and just let it passively drape over it for right now. The other part of the KnotOut that I love is that there's no right answer with it. They're all different shapes, all different sizes, and depending on your body shape and size, you're going to want to play with them. And it's not just for one space on the body, but you're going to find the ones that you like better. I like this one because it feels supportive for the whole side of the system, okay? So then you can kind of get whatever little motion out of it that feels good for your body. And yeah, I might be making that face because you really get in there into the tissue, okay? And you make a couple passes at it, maybe 10, up, down, just iron it out, get things moving along. And then this top, you're going to open it up. It doesn't matter what you do with the legs because you're just stabilizing it. You just want to lean into that back tissue and not feel like you're going to fall off anywhere. So whatever's comfortable with your arm is totally legitimate and totally fine as long as nothing hurts. And even, you know, rolling that forward to back to get across the tissue, 2 and 1, okay? And then coming out of that to do your side series on the other side. So again, I hear a lot of like, I know we're supposed to be working legs, but it just hurts my neck and I can't support it. You get the tissue opened up, you've got more access to it. When you ask them to squeeze down in that armpit, push through the fist and the forearm, then they've got some stability to get the side core work and not get so mucked up in the ick of it, okay? Kick forward, flex and reach back. So even me, when I do that, I'm like, yeah, it changes it. Again, we're always looking for connection, we're looking for balance because what we do is Pilates, right? But that goes along with everything else, top to bottom. So a lot of times I see clients and subscribers stuck in their appendages. Well, let's get them ironed out, let's get things opened up so they can get into their core contraction and get the benefits in their body. One more, front and back, okay? So the last one I want to show you was with the small KnotOut. This is actually the little guy that I travel with that I love and is a super multitasker, okay? Why? Because you can roll your feet on it, you can roll piriformis, which I'm a big fan of. But today, the last exercise I'm going to share with you in Pilates is that you always typically end classically with a plank. But you hear so many people like, I cannot do plank, my wrists hurt. Yes, they hurt for a lot of different reasons. But this little guy can be really helpful in getting past the hurt point so that you get into healing and strength and the fitness of it. So you're going to start in honor of plank. You're going to roll your hands first. Okay, just nice and simple, okay? Just like when you're a kid and you're rolling Play-Doh and clay. And then you're going to roll into the forearms, which, because I now spend a lot of time on the computer and a lot of time texting on my phone, this one is huge, I think, for everybody. I think everybody should do this every day. And then turn and you can get the other side too, okay? So that you get the forearms and into the wrist, because what are people's biggest complaints in plank? Is my wrist hurt? Okay, well, there's a couple reasons the wrists hurt, right? One is that they're potentially weak because they don't do enough of this and they don't get the right connection. The other reason is that, you know, they're tight, and weak denotes tight and vice versa. But you can roll it out so that you get more suppleness, more access to increase the flexibility and take that hurt out of it. Then, because you're rolling that hurt, then you have more access to build strength, right? So I think it's a really fun and a really cool way, especially for the Pilates community, to really communicate about forearms and wrist strength, because everybody goes, can I make a fist? Yes, and you can modify it totally, and you can do a forearm plank, but you can really do a long arm plank when you're coached into it and you wean your body in the progressive way. So once you've rolled everything out, heading into plank, you've got more access to get into the proper alignment so that that hand is right underneath your armpit. Spread the fingertips really wide. Press through the pads of the fingers so much so that the knuckles bend, so that you can get into the meaty part of the palm, which turns the wrist muscles on. So even though they may still be uncomfortable because the stretch of this angle is a lot for some people, now you're getting into opening up that tissue and really engaging and connecting and strengthening into the belly of those muscles, which is always awesome and always the way to go, instead of people hanging in their joints and going, it just hurts my wrist, okay? So that is your PYM Pilates KnotOut Quickie. So little shortcuts, but things to really add to your practice that can make a big difference and a big impact in the fitness, wellness, and health of your body. So enjoy your Pilates KnotOut Quickie. I'll see you next time.